Hello everyone, welcome back to Code to Commerce. Today we are going to explore three important design patterns: bridge, facade and iterator. Let's start with the basics. What are these patterns? The bridge pattern allows you to separate abstraction from implementation, making it easier to change them both independently. Facade provides a simplified interface to a complex system, hiding its complexity. And iterator provides a way to access elements of a collection without exposing its underlying structure. But why do we need these patterns? These patterns help us in various scenarios. Bridge makes it easier to manage complex hierarchies. Facade simplifies interactions with subsystems. And iterator makes it easier to work with collections without worrying about their implementation details. Now let's talk about some real-life applications. Bridge pattern can be seen in connecting different devices to a computer. Facade pattern is like using a remote control to operate a TV without knowing its internal workings. Iterator pattern is like browsing through items in a shopping list. Now let's see some code examples. Here is a screenshot. Do you think any issue here? Both bike and bus have their own production unit for production and assembling of their parts. We can definitely optimize that. But how? Let me explain. Now this is a correct snapshot where vehicle has delegated this responsibility to a workshop which further is responsible for production and assembly of vehicle's parts. That is where the bridge pattern has come into action. We are separating abstraction from implementation. Let's see some code now. There is an abstract class called vehicle which has two workshop variables, one for production and other for assembly. We also have a bus class and a bike class, both of which are having manufacture methods. Then we also have an interface method workshop. Now classes production and assemble implements workshop interface. Ultimately, we have a client class bridge pattern example where bus and bike both are manufactured using bridge pattern. I would suggest you guys to take a pause at this video and analyze this piece of code to grasp more understanding of this pattern. Now let's move on to the facade pattern. Here is the facade pattern. It simplifies interactions with a complex subsystem. Now let's see how this code works. So we have a CPU class with methods like freeze, jump and execute. Then we have a memory class with load method and then hard drive class with read method. Now here comes the computer facade which has all the instances of above classes along with a start method. In the client class we have called start method of computer facade which does all the job of starting a PC. As you can see that we have used a facade in between to do all the jobs involved in starting a PC instead of us doing everything. That's the beauty of facade design pattern. Now let's move on to the iterator pattern. Here is the iterator pattern which allows us to traverse through a collection without exposing its internal details. Now let's see how this code works. First of all, in this code I have made use of iterator interface whose functionality in itself is directly provided. No need to be scared of this iterator. It's just a way of iterating over some list or a set in some order. Major benefit is that you might have different type of collections like linked list, array list, set, etc. The simplest of the way to traverse through them is via iterator pattern without knowing the internal implementation. So it provides a common way to iterate across a multiple collection of data structures. Simple. Now if you take a look at the code, we have an aggregate interface with create iterator. Then we have a concrete aggregate which implements aggregate. Similarly, we have a concrete iterator that implements iterator interface. Now one of the most important thing is that iterator has two main methods, hasNext and next, where hasNext returns a boolean whether list contains next element or not, or if it is the end of iteration. And the next method is to fetch the next element in the list. In the client class, I have added items within the aggregate and then using aggregate.createIterator. I would be traversing over the list which gives the items that we added within the list. That's how the iterator pattern is used. After doing this, here is the output. Now let's talk about the pros and the cons of each pattern. The bridge pattern separates abstraction from implementation, making it a lot flexible, but it can make the code more complex. The facade pattern simplifies interactions with a complex system, but it may hide too much complexity. The iterator pattern provides a way to access elements of a collection without exposing its structure, but it may not be suitable for all types of collection. And that's a wrap up. We have covered bridge, facade and iterator pattern along with their proper examples and their explanations with the code. Please subscribe, like, share and hit the bell icon to stay updated with the latest videos. See you in the next episode.